It is Tuesday, Pi Day, March 14th, and I'm back over here at Paularino Elementary for the 4th time, subbing 5th grade today. It's going to be surreal to be back here. I came here from kindergarten to 2nd grade. I'm in this classroom, and here's how I found it. I walked over here and been stopped by a few students who remembered me, asking who I'm subbing for. I said 5th grade, this person's class, and she was kind of disappointed because she was in the other 5th grade class, but I did sub for her before. And the other person was in 4th grade, and she was a bit disappointed that I wasn't going to be the sub in her class. So I went over here, and I knew that the 5th and 6th grade was in this part of the campus, but then I looked down at the sub notes, and it said room 20, and I'm like, isn't room 20 all the way on the other side next to my kindergarten room? And so I asked the teacher, and she confirmed, yes, it's on the other side of the campus. So as I was walking to the other side of the campus, students called out saying, like, can I see a magic trick? I'm like, well, maybe recess or lunch when I have time. And they're like, okay. So I went all the way on the other side of the campus, and I walked to room 20, and the teacher was in there, and I'm like, is this the class I'm supposed to sub for? And she said, no, you got the wrong information. Your teacher's class, whom you're subbing for, is in that first portable over there on the other side where I was just at. So I walked all the way back. So anyway, I mean, it was still fun to go back and forth the blacktop of Paularino, I guess, because this is where I went to school, well, for 3 years. I told that other teacher that I believe I spent some of my kindergarten days in her room, because my room was room 21.
Eva, we have to go to room 21.
And just like that, it's over. And the start of today was quite interesting. There were like no sub notes or sub plans anywhere, and on Frontline it said if it's not on this desk, it would be on that desk. And I was searching all around it multiple times. I went to another teacher to ask her, and she texted the teacher. Apparently there weren't any sub plans, but there was just like jotted notes that she kept for today. And from there I'm like, okay, you have this page to read and these pages to fill out and everything. And after recess was math, so on this Pi Day I got to teach all about fractions and such. Not 22/7, but still just multiplying fractions and such. I told them that today was Pi Day, like 3.14 March 14th and all that. And today was quite fun. They were very kind and respectful. They were talkative in other parts of the day as well. And as usual, I like to interject humor. And so when they were doing their written narrative, they're like asking me how many paragraphs do we need? And I'm like, okay, 314 paragraphs. And then I said, no, I'm just joking. And then one person actually asked, okay, what do I do now? I'm done with everything. I'm like, everything? Yeah, he said everything. And I'm like, okay, well, bust out a ukulele and start playing. And I'm like, you don't have a ukulele? Okay, just read. And then they had reading buddies, so we walked all the way to the other side of the school, and the 2nd grade teacher over there knew one of the teachers I had, not my main teacher, but the classroom that I would go to see if I could be mainstreamed or not. She knew that teacher, so I'm like, small world. And it was raining and pouring after recess, so their lunch was in the NPR and in another room and such, and I just hung out here and then picked them up. And then we came back in here, and after like 15 or so minutes, there was like cleaning up, juggling, and then they lined up and left. This is conference week, so it's like early out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and no school Wednesday, which was just like when I was in elementary school. So if I get to sub tomorrow, I know it's not going to be in primary education. And by the late middle of the day, students began asking me if I would get to sub for them on Thursday, and I'm like, well, I don't know yet. And that continued for the rest of the day. And I ran into the other 5th grade teacher whom I subbed for last December 14th. And she was telling me that all her students want her to take a day off or something so that I could sub again for them. So I'm very appreciative. Like earlier today, there's like so many students from so many different classes I subbed for just waving and saying hi, and a ton of them who recognized me from YouTube. Another thing that occurred a couple of times today is students asking, so how did everything look back like 20 plus years ago? And so I got to describe like how the jungle gym looked and such. You know, the computer lab was in that room, and the computers used to be boxes, and or that's how big computers were back then. I remember the library and such. And being a rainy day, I told a couple of them that on Mondays when I was in kindergarten, that was library day. And there was one rainy day, and we put our books in our jackets and, sped walk all the way across the blacktop to go to the library. And then there was a couple of times when they asked me how old I was, and I said 27, and one person said, oh, that's young, but another person actually, like, this happened a couple times today, so why do you have gray hair or like silver streaks? And I'm like, don't mention that. And it's like I had this since high school, so I think a genetic thing or something. And there's one friend whom I met on YouTube. He's a fellow fire buffer, and like over a year ago, he saw one of my videos and messaged me on Instagram asking about it. I'm like, no, I had these since high school, and yeah, there's a student, a classmate of mine who was worried about me, and my barbers were always noticing too. So it was an excellent and I would say nostalgic day to be back here, and can't wait for next time. It is St. Patrick's Day 2023, March 17th, and I'm over here in the science classroom at Ensign Intermediate School. And yes, it's been 3 days since like the last time I subbed. There's like hardly any sub jobs available the past couple of days, but I'm very thankful that I got to sub here. I've actually been wanting to sub this class for quite a while, since like last year, just so that I could sub different classes. And the reason why is because I know this teacher, and I think he was here when I was a student here. I got to re-meet him a year ago when I was first a student teacher. I got to observe this classroom last academic year and this past fall in this academic year. So I'm happy to be here, science. And this turned out to be an extraordinary day. A lot of students in every period and during nutrition and lunch were very happy to see me back. This is the first time that I subbed where there's a student teacher who was basically in charge. So, and by fortuity, she also goes to Vanguard University. She is in her ASD semester, so she's working on the CAT-DPA Psycho 2. I remember those grueling days, but it was very rewarding afterward. So I talked to the student teacher beforehand, and she said that it's okay that I do a card trick. She lost track of time in 7th period, but 8th period and the first couple of periods I got to do a card trick, so that was very fun. So 2 days this week, so I'm probably not going to make a teaching update this week. I'll probably continue for the next few times, but still I can't wait to see. Yet I know where I'm going to be next Tuesday and Thursday. And a quick update of how my second book is coming. That's kind of what I've been doing all week, staying up all night long for a few days in a row while waiting for sub jobs, and literally typing all night. I am like 143,000 words in, so that's like under 500 book pages. And yes, I think I'm going to have a lot of editing to do after the first draft, but I'm almost done with the first draft. In the narrative, I'm like late 2022, early 2023. I mean, it's not 100% sequential, but I'm just going to write about like starting substitute teaching after completing my student teaching hours and such, and then get into 2023, so it should be fun and almost done. I just hope it's not a formidable book. I hope it's a book that a lot of people enjoy but also get inspired of, especially if a person has a disability. Don't let that stop you. It's March 20th, 2023. I'm over here at Paularino Elementary serving a half day, an afternoon half day for 3rd grade. So today went phenomenal. I really enjoyed how it is turning out. When I first got here, the person in the office was happy to see me and notified me that we're not really in the lockdown, but everything has to be closed for the same reasons from like I think the last time I was here. But anyway, I entered here and talked to the teacher through the sub notes and everything, and then just took over, and I gave my introduction and said that I like do magic tricks and such if you're on your best behavior. Of course, I disclaim knowing real magic, but other than that, they really enjoyed it. And then it was a rainy day, so a couple of people came here to relieve me while I went to lunch, and then more tasks, and then juggling at the end. So the juggling went well, and then after that was extra recess. And so at that point, for about 15 minutes of the extra recess, a student stayed behind, and we talked for the next 15 minutes. And we're talking, the class discovered that I was an author and that I've written about autism, and that I'm speaking out for autism rights, disability rights, and acceptance and awareness and all that. And she thought that was very inspiring and brave that I am doing that. So we talked, she encouraged me. She said that I have been inspiring her. We talked about Dr. King and how much Dr. King Jr. Made an impact on her and her relationship with other friends of hers now. And so it was really much of an eye-opening. She said very good advice that if anyone tears you down, then just ignore it and move on and such. And I understand that's very hard for a lot of people, especially people like me with autism, and it's very hard to just hear something and then just walk away without asking yourself why and everything. But bowling, I guess, is nothing to like lose sleep over, and just be with and support however you can people who do resort to bowling, because as I've heard the cliche before, hurt people and such. And just my agenda is getting this entire world nice, putting aside competition, coming to know one another, and just being a friend to one another, accepting each other who have differences, because as this student said, we're all the same human, you know, it's all one humanity and such. We're just all the same and such. So anyway, now they're at PE, and the PE teacher's the father to two twins whom my student taught last year, and is actually the father to one of the students in this class here. After which it's the end of the day, so I really enjoyed today. I know where I'm going to be tomorrow and Thursday. I already had that scheduled since last week, along with the following Tuesday and Thursday at another school. And then during my lunch break, I accepted a position on Frontline that I've like literally been praying for, you know, and that's going to be on Friday, so I'm very excited for the future this week. The only thing I need, or that I have left to fill, is Wednesday. It's March 21st, 2023. It's a wet and rainy morning today. I'm subbing 5th grade today. Okay, so it's lunchtime and I'm having quite a day. It's very, 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 very talkative. But other than that, they're very kind. A lot of them recognize me from last year because I subbed for 2 classes of 4th graders, so about 2/3 of them recognize me, and they're happy that I'm their sub. They're happy for all the tricks, and I'm like, well, if you earn it, here are the warning system that I have, and then that usually gets them quieted down at that point. So everything's going very well. It was raining and pouring this morning, as you saw, and it like changed twice on whether it's going to be rainy day schedule or not. So they're at the NPR right now, and just eating in there, and then they'll be coming back here. So so far so good. I got to teach a math lesson about volume and everything. For the reading in the beginning, it's My Brother Sam is Dead, and that was something that we read in 5th grade over in room 20 17 years ago. So I'm like, well, that's still in the curriculum, just like 4th graders are still reading Island of the Blue Dolphins, I believe. So there are actually 2 5th grade teachers who teaches at the school, and I had a choice between one of them. And I'm like, well, I have to choose this one because I actually know her and her 2 sons. Her her oldest son, I student taught math at Ensign Intermediate School this past academic year, and both of them were in Royal Rangers Outpost 33 several years ago. So I know I taught the oldest one in Royal Rangers like 4, 5, 6 years ago, and the younger one was like in Ranger Kids. So it's a small world. It's like I just had to accept this teacher. That was just an extraordinary wild day. So it was fun, just very noisy. I got through the history lesson in a couple of pieces, but I got through the history lesson all about American government, the Declaration of Independence, and why we declared freedom from Britain. So that was interesting. And then at the very end, in good conscience, I couldn't do the full juggling performance, but I did do enough to give my analogy out and such, and just do one little simple card trick. But it was very fun. It's more like behavioral and just self-discipline and such. They're not mean or anything like that, but I really enjoyed being here. And again, anytime I have classes like this, I feel like I am called to be here on these certain days. So and that's my joy. I just also ran into a couple of former teachers, as well as a person that used to be in my class in the master's program. So anyway, good day today, and hopefully I'll be somewhere tomorrow, and if not, I know where I'm going to be Thursday and Friday. It's March 23rd, 2023, and I'm back over here at Killybrooke Elementary, subbing for the same 6th grade class that I subbed for on March 1st, I believe. She texted me asking if I could sub again for her, and I said yes, so here I am. Back inside this classroom. While I was approaching the room, I was noticing the door was cracked open, as if it wasn't closed all the way, but then I found out the teacher was in here, so she gave me the rundown of how today's going to be, asked if I had any questions. found this jugabug that I didn't know that I left. She said yes, the students all said that this was mine. She also said that the students were very excited to hear that I was coming back. Since it started raining this morning, everyone went to the NPR, and I walked over there, ran into a student who remembered me, happy to see me again. And as the students were coming in here this morning, they were looking in the window and happy to see me again. And then class started, and then we went straight to music. And the person who is teaching the music, I met him at College Park last June, I believe, when I subbed at College Park for the first time. And so I guess he alternates schools. And when I went to pick them up, I played a little bit on the piano, just a little bit of what I knew without sheet music, so it really didn't sound perfect, but anyway. And then after music was a couple more assessments, which was how it was like a few weeks ago when I was here. But they were good, and afterward I showed more tricks. I had to try and think of tricks I haven't showed them before, and so I did so. And then about 40 minutes ago we had like an earthquake, drop, cover, and hold drill and evacuation. And then after that was PE, so day's almost over, and then I have to rush home because I was actually in communications with ABC7, and this morning she texted me out of the blue, I guess because of my recent PR campaign, and she asked if I would be willing to do a Zoom meeting as quickly as possible. So I told her, well, I'm in class right now, like subbing 6th grade, their music and everything, and we were scheduling something like maybe during my lunch break, and then Zoom wouldn't work on my phone. I haven't ever used Zoom on my phone before, so we settled at like around 3:40-ish, so if everything goes well, I might be on the Channel 7 News tonight, 5 p.m., talking about autism. The CDC came out today talking about a high prevalence now in about autism, and that's what I have is autism. And I remember 3 years ago, I think it was March 26, 2020, the prevalence was 1 in 54, and now the prevalence have increased in that from 1 in 54 to like now it's more prevalent. So she was wanting to ask my opinions and like early intervention, like what helped and everything, and my messages, and she was really impressed of a YouTube video that I did speaking out about autism awareness and acceptance. So hopefully that will go well, and hopefully I'll be on the news tonight. I've waited like 3 or 4 years for it, but still. So overall it was an excellent day. I was very glad that I was here today, and can't wait for tomorrow where I will be on the other side of the district. It is March 24th, 2023. I'm back over here at Eastbluff for the 3rd time, subbing for 5th grade today. Very, very excited. Very, very disappointed. I forgot my backpack again, so I'm going to have to figure something out with the juggling and other tricks and such. But other than that, I'm glad that I am here. In this classroom, excited to be here. I just read through the sub notes, went to the office. They're figuring out getting a Chromebook for me. The librarian's coming over to give me a computer, and just feel all set up and ready to help this class. Apparently this was the class whose student I helped the first time I was here in math. Well, so far so good. I figured out what I was going to do with the juggling. I asked a person and saw the custodian, and he let me in the PE bins, and from there I am borrowing a few things to juggle with, and then for the other trick I'm like halfway there. And what's this behind me? Don't ask, but I did get to teach some math. Just wish I would have seen it beforehand or so, but it was good teaching math. It was like homework review and such. And then they had a math quiz. This is the 3rd time I'm here. All 3 times I've been here on Friday, so a lot of quizzes. So they had a math quiz, and now they're off to the library. Finally got the Chromebook to work and everything. And as I was asking around for perhaps extra juggling supplies or the notepad and everything, one of the teachers whom I met the first time I was here and saw the last time I was here, saying, "Hey, I saw you on the news last night," or I think it was her mother that said that she saw me on the news, and then I said, yeah, I have Eastbluff, like the last picture of the news story in there. And so there's a selfie that they used from my Instagram page, one of my recent posts, and it's me with Eastbluff Pride in the background was a sign on the door, and that was like the last picture and the last thing they put in the story. So it's like, well, Eastbluff and Newport Harbor and Killybrooke Elementary are on the news now, Channel 7. I also noticed that they are reading The Sign of the Beaver, which is exactly what we read when I was in 5th grade. And behind it, there's an escape room packet talking all about colonial times, the Revolutionary War and all that, just like at Newport Heights Elementary the other day when I also subbed for 5th grade, but different method of teaching. So they earned it, and I showed them that trick where 8 people tell me when, actually it was 9 this time, told me when to stop at random places, and then 3 people pick 3-digit numbers, and someone multiplied them together using their like online Google calculator, and the product was the 9 cards. And then they literally ran out of the room. Okay, it's because it's lunchtime, so perfect timing, it's lunchtime and everything. And I'm so thankful that this worked out. It's not exactly the one that I use, but the same type. A teacher loaned this to me, so it was perfect. And so far so great. I mean, they like to talk a lot, but then there's times where they're whispering and silent and everything. There's one time when a couple of students were done and asked what to do. I'm like, okay, I'll just give you a calculus worksheet. Or trigonometry, which one do you want? And they're like, what's trigonometry calculus? So I gave like a quick rundown on the board. Okay, here you're learning about linear equations, y equals mx plus b. Okay, you'll learn that in like a year or two. But for calculus, how do you take a slope at a certain point when it's like a curve? And then how do you find the area underneath the curve? So you know the area of a square, right? Base times height. But how exactly do you find area underneath the curve? So that's where calculus comes in. I said you'll probably learn that like 6, 7, 8 years from now. And again, so far so good. In fact, I was standing there at the beginning of lunch, and a couple of younger students came in asking, do you need help? So I guess they helped this teacher a lot. I'm like, no, but thank you for offering. And now the day's over. It's very fun being here, like all day today, like recess, lunch, before school, after school. Right now, everyone's like referring to me as like, oh, it's the magic man, he's here again, or the magician's here again, or something like that. So we're just outside, and I did a lot of tricks, like a lot of card tricks. And so there's one student who showed me a card trick, and I was showing him a bunch of card tricks, and then a crowd grew, and then after that another crowd grew, and then the bell rang, so it was quite fun. So that is a phenomenal conclusion to the past couple of weeks. Again, this week was like twice as full as last week, so I'm very thankful for that. And I already have 60% of next week planned, so can't wait for that. And then thank you so much for following this journey. I hope that this journey will encourage and motivate aspiring teachers, and that disability or not, anybody could do whatever they set to their heart and mind to do. It's my joy to be in front of the classroom. And one more thing, on Wednesday I actually completed my first draft, and I have a big announcement YouTube video on that, so I'll link it up here so I don't repeat it. But basically I've finished my first draft of my second book, and my next step is just going over it and probably cutting out a lot of things, because it's like a over 500 page book right now. So anyway, thank you again, and see you in the next video.